ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाखया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। नम ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवगौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। नम ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवगौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। ओम नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांता नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पंकुं लङ्कयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्यमीश्वरम्। हरे कृष्णा। So in the last session, we have discussed up to uh, the 14th verse of the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So we'll start from 15th verse onwards. So this chapter is entitled Dhyana Yoga, where Krishna is essentially speaking about Ashtanga Yoga, which are recommended for the yogis. Okay. So here in this chapter, we can see that how Krishna speaks about the posture of a yogi, and how what kind of a place he must choose for his sadhana, then how he must detach himself from the material world and go in a secluded place to practice. Then what is the object of his meditation? Krishna speaks about that. Oftentimes we see that that is what the modern yoga system, many people who are teaching yoga, they are lacking this point. Like they know that there are all these eight limbs to yoga, but they are not aware of what is the object of dharana. They speak about dharana, but what is the object of dharana? Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, you have seen this in the 14th verse, where Krishna says that one should meditate on my form, right? One should meditate on my form, and not only that, he has to make me the ultimate goal of his life. That is what Krishna says. So the ultimate goal in life for a yogi must be Krishna, and a yogi must do dharana of Krishna within him. And we had connected this with Srimad Bhagavatam, actually the second canto, second chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, wherein Shukadev Goswami elaborately explains what is the object of meditation for a yogi? So he says that a yogi constantly meditates on the form of the Lord, that is the localized Paramatma feature of the Lord residing in everyone's heart. And he beautifully describes how he is standing, how the heart is like, a lotus flower, and on the Karanikaram, on the center of the lotus, Krishna has placed his Pada Pallavam, his soft, tender, flower like, lotus feet he has placed. And how is he looking? He is looking with, with happiness. He's smiling, and giving all auspiciousness to the yogi who is meditating on him. All those things we saw. He has four-handed form, and the different abhushan that he is wearing, and his curly locks of hair with bluish tinge to it, and all those things we described how beautiful he is. So that is the object of meditation. And Krishna, in the 14th verse, that was the last verse that we described in the last session, he speaks how one should constantly meditate on this form of the Lord, and make that form of the Lord the ultimate goal of his life. Now we will go ahead. We will start from 15th verse onwards. Maybe we would stretch a session bit if you all allow me, because we have already lost two sessions. Yes, we'll start from here. The 15th verse. युञ्जनेवं सदात्मानं योगी नियतमानसः शान्तिं निर्वाणपरमां मत्संस्थाम् अधिगच्छति. So in this verse, actually Krishna is speaking about the goal of Ashtanga Yoga. What is the goal of Ashtanga Yoga? Yunyan evam sadatmanam. Yunyan means to practice, karna. तो योगा को करना, योग करना, यूनियन. यूनियन एवं एवं मतलब जैसे पहले से एक्सप्लेन करते हुए आ रहे 14th वर्स से. Union evam sadatmana. In the 14th verse, he is speaking about meditating on him and making him the ultimate goal of life. So one who is practicing in this way, okay, union evam sadatmanam. But how much time? Not once in a year, not twice in a year, or not once in a day. Sada atmanam. Sada, all the time, Hamesha, Sada. So Yunyan evam sadatmanam. So you have to meditate on the form of the Lord. You have to make him the ultimate object of life, not for some time. Then you will not become a yogi. You will become a yogi when you make him the object, the goal of your life, and when you constantly meditate on him all the time, Sada. That's when you attain perfection. So Yunyan evam sadatmanam. Sada. Sada means all the time. And with what? Atmanam. Atmanam here refers to all the three things. With your body, with your mind, and with your soul. That is the purpose of yoga. Right? Yoga means union. It is to unite with Krishna. That is yoga. That is bhakti yoga. To unite with the Paramatma. That is yoga. Ashtanga yoga. So Paramatma is no one but Krishna only in his localized feature. So Sada Atmanam, with the help of what? Atmanam, with the help of your body, with the help of your mind, and with the help of your soul. Right? Like for example, when you are doing a particular posture, you're doing asana, and in that asana, you have a certain way in which you have to breathe. Right? That is also pranayama only. That's how you breathe. And through breathing, you are actually controlling your prana. And with the help of that controlled prana, you are doing what? You are actually focusing your mind on the soul and the super soul, the soul and Krishna. The one pointed attention. We saw in the previous verses how Krishna uses the word ekagra chittam, and all those things. So yunjan evam sadatmanam, हमेशा हमेशा अपने मन, तन और अपने आत्मा से, ये तीनों से आपको क्या करना है? हमेशा युक्त रहना है, प्रैक्टिस करते रहना है. युञ्जमेवं सदात्मानं योगी नियत मानसः, ऐसा कौन करता है? योगी। तो वो जो योगी रहता है, नियत मानसः, नियत मन, मानसः मतलब आपका मन होता है, मन को मानस बोलता है ना, मानसः. So sometimes in the scriptures we see manasa putra. So manasa putra is that putra who came from the mind. So just by a thought he came. So it is not manasa putra. It is as per his desire he came as a manasa putra. So manasa means mind. So niyata manasah means regulated mind. Right. तो उसका मतलब क्या है? कृष्णा इज नॉट सेइंग दैट युंजन एवं सदात्मानम एंड यू लीव योर माइंड. नो, you have to regulate your mind. Your mind should be under your control, and with that controlled mind, with that regulated mind, regulation means what? There should be no extremes. Regulated mind means there must be no extremes. There should be no raga, no dvesha. Means you should not be overly attached to something, or you should not hate something. You should not develop hatred for something, aversion for something. You should not be sleeping too much, or you should not be sleeping too less. You should not be eating too much, or you should not be eating too less. This is all niyata manasah. So in your mind you should not be wandering in extremes. So what happens is that in this world we see, हम लोग क्या करते हैं? हम लोग हमेशा एक्सट्रीम्स में रहते हैं. ये दुनिया में कुछ हो जाता है तो हमारा मन हमेशा उसको एम्पलीफाई करता है. आप लोग को ये चीज का एक्सपीरियंस होगा, सबको होगा इनफैक्ट, कि हमारा मन जो रहता है ना, ये हर चीज को, हर इमोशन को एम्पलीफाई करता है. जैसे कि कोई व्यक्ति है, वो उसको कुछ मिल गया, समझो उसको कुछ चाहिए था, ही वाज वर्किंग फॉर इट, एंड इफ ही गेट्स दैट, what happens is his mind will be just, exploding with happiness, and he will develop all those feelings of pride, and all those things come. At the same time, a person, if he loses something, or if he fails in some of his endeavor, what happens is his mind will be so depressed. He will overthink so much. अरे यार, अभी तो मेरा पैरों तले जमीन खिसक गया, अब तो ये अब तो मैं खत्म हो गया, सब मेरे बारे में ये सोचते रहेंगे, वो सोचते रहेंगे. वी हैव एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ दिस, राइट? वी The real situation might not be as extreme or as bad as the mind makes it appear. हमारे मन में वो उतना बुरा है, एक्चुअली वो उतना बुरा होना जरूरी नहीं है उसका, हमारे मन में वो उतना बुरा है. तो द प्रॉब्लम इज दैट आवर माइंड इज ऑलवेज इन द एक्सट्रीम्स. At one moment we can be on the top of clouds, and the other moment we can be at patala. So the mind is always restless, and it is going here and there in extremes. And why is this happening? It is because of rajoguna within us. Because of rajas and tamas, our mind is going in extremes. When it is in sattoguna, it is balanced. It is just still. We'll see that. So yes, yogi niyatamanasa hai. His mind should be regulated. His mind should be regulated by the regulative principles of freedom. So this is a bit contradictory. Regulative principles of freedom. So what is actual freedom? Actual freedom is to get out of the clutches of Maya, to get out of the clutches of birth, death, old age, and disease. This is freedom. And how do you get out of this? By regulating yourself, by having yama and niyama, you get out of this. So a yogi should have niyata manasah. He should not be one who just allows his mind to go anywhere and everywhere. No, he should have regulations. He should have boundaries in which his mind will be there. And he should constantly do what? Constantly meditate upon Krishna. That is the most important thing out of all this. Yogi niyata manasah. And what happens if he does that? A yogi who has niyata manasah, and who is doing what? He is practicing yunjan evam sadatmanam all the time. What happens? Shantim nirvana paramam. He gets shanti, he gets peace, peaceful. Shantim nirvana paramam, and he gets nirvana also. Nirvana means moksha, to get out of the cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. This is the perfection of life. This is the reason why we must live. This is the goal of our life, to get out of the clutches of Maya one day. Not that we just enjoy this world like hogs and dogs and become hogs and dogs in the next way. It is to ask, like Prabhupada always tells us. There is a very famous clip of Prabhupada. You might have seen this. He says that, why I have to accept birth, why I have to accept death, why I have to accept old age, why I have to accept disease. These are the questions that we must be inquisitive towards. These are the questions that we must be searching an answer for. If we take our own life so far, from the day when we were mature enough to understand how this world works, you only take account of suffering in this world and happiness in this world. One thing we all are sure about is that we are searching after happiness. We want happiness and peace. That's what everyone wants. That's what a basic need of everyone. But is this world satisfying you with respect to that? That is the question. So many people feel this way, that there is happiness in this world and they are happy. In fact, majority of the time, or in fact almost every time, it is not happiness but a negation of suffering that people think to be happiness. Think about it, it's very deep. If you learn shastras to the core, we will understand that majority of the time what we feel is happiness is nothing but negation of misery. You think this, I have personal experience of this. Sometimes we feel that something worst is going to happen, and the worst thing doesn't happen. It's neutral and we become happy for it, and we think that this is happiness, but it is not happiness. It is a negation of misery. Majority of the times this is the thing. Sometimes it is like, we feel that some outcome is going to be very bad, but it was not very bad, but छोटा सा misery आके गया. We feel it is happiness. It is good to be optimistic, and it is good to stay peaceful. But at the same time, we should understand that in this world there is no real happiness. That is when we would turn towards Krishna. Matter will not satisfy you. Why? Because fundamentally you both are different things. We are spirit souls having material experience. We are trying to enjoy matter and extract happiness from it. But you are only the person who is giving life to the matter. Worth thinking. Without the presence of the spirit soul, without the presence of the Paramatma, the matter has no meaning to it. It is jada. It is dead. It has no meaning to it. Let's put it this way: a wife must be very much attached to her husband. She would be loving him. They would be having loving exchanges, and they have a very beautiful relationship. They cannot be separate. They are not separable. Only if the husband goes for work to some other place, she's always thinking about him. When would my beloved come back, and all those things. But the same husband, when he dies and he becomes a dead body, does the wife love the dead body the same way as she loved her husband when he was alive? No, she don't, right? She would cry in front of the dead body of her husband that please come back. You went alone. You didn't take me, and all those things we have seen Vilapa, all those stages. But the thing is, she would not only not love the dead body, but she would start developing fear also towards the dead body, right? And what about the body? That body is now decaying. Once it was growing, and now it is decaying. This is a classic example to understand that how we are not this body. We are something beyond this body. The spirit soul, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. We are spirit souls. And once the spirit soul and the Paramatma goes out of the body is dead. So it is 100% sure that this body is not going to give you happiness. Why? Because you are the person who is giving life to the body. How can something which is dead give happiness to someone who is alive? Just like the dead body of the husband is not bringing happiness to the loving wife. Similarly, this dead body which is getting life from us is never going to satisfy us. It is not going to give us happiness. It's not going to happen. Similarly, everything that we see in this world, it is actually jada. and we are Chetana. What are we doing? We are trying to extract happiness from dead objects. This is known as Jada Ananda. We are trying to extract happiness from it. In reality, there is no happiness only there. You know, we have, because we are part and parcel of Krishna, we also have a feature of being Satchid and Ananda. You see, eternity. Nobody wants to die, right? Nobody wants to just cease to exist. We would just protect ourselves from death. That is what we are doing. We are just running away from death from here and there. There are dangers all around. We are running away. We are protecting ourselves only, right? So we don't want to die, which means that it shows that it is our constitutional nature to be eternal. We want an eternal life. Then Chit, Sat, Chit, and Ananda. You know, we have this tendency of being happy. We have this tendency of being lively, right? Like for example, if there is a fish tank, and in that fish tank, all the fishes, they have died. For example, would somebody sit and stare at the fishes, the same goldfish, and the same different kinds of fish? I don't know names of fishes, but yeah, the different fishes of different colors and all those things. Somebody would keep them at his home. In fact, now it is really nice. Now you won't have to put oxygen also, and you don't have to pump in oxygen or put food also for them. सस्ता हो गया ना काम. आपको शो के लिए रखने का था, है ना, फिशेस को. दूसरा कोई काम तो नहीं था घर पे. आपने घर पे रख दिया. अब वो लोग नहीं रहे, मर गए. फिर उसके बाद में उसको वहां पर ही क्यों नहीं रखते हो? उसको निकाल देते हो और नए फिश को क्यों लाते हो? बिकॉज it is life that you are loving, because it is moving and playing. When you see it, you get happiness because it has life. We are indirectly attached to the Paramatma sitting inside the heart of the fish. We are indirectly attracted towards the spirit soul, Brahman, which is sitting inside. It is not actually the body of the fish that is attracting us. We have this false notion that the body is attracting us. Then why are we throwing away that body? Right? You can have artificial colors, and you can just paint something and make some device and see that roaming in water. Why do we want real fishes? It is because the life is what the life within it, the atma within it, the paramatma within it is actually what is making it beautiful, right? So what I'm trying to say is, we are trying to extract happiness from this temporary miserable world. These words are not something which is constructed by me. This is what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita: dukkhalayam ashashvatam, a place of misery, ashashvatam, which is temporary, which is not forever. And what are we trying to get out of it? We are trying to get eternal life and eternal happiness from something which is not existing only in that. It is not the nature of this world. So yes, the ultimate object of life is to understand this fact and turn towards spirit, right? And to get out of the clutches of these three modes of material nature, and that is known as nirvana. So how do you get nirvana? Yunjanevam sadatmanam yogi niyatamanasah. Shantim, you will get peace when you are alive, and you will get nirvana paramam. You can get out of the clutches of mind. Mad samstham adhigacchati. This is very important. Mad, mad. Krishna is saying, mad means my, right? So Krishna is speaking. So Krishna's. So mad samstham adhigacchati. So he'll come to me, to my place. That's what it means. So the spiritual kingdom of Krishna, Vaikuntha Loka, you will get. Mat samstham adhigacchati. You will get. Right? Very beautiful. This is the ultimate goal of life, you see. Thus, practicing constant control of the body, mind, and activities, the mystic transcendentalist, his mind regulated, attains to the kingdom of God or the abode of Krishna by cessation of material existence. Right? Very different. So this is actually the goal of Ashtanga Yoga. So why do we do yoga? For losing weight, for stress management, for having flexible gymnastic body. No, the ultimate goal of yoga is to get Krishna. That is what Krishna says. And even if you read Patanjali Yoga Sutra, actually Prabhupada quotes in one of the purports. And that's why I told you to read the purports. Even in Srimad Bhagavatam, I have read. So Prabhupada quotes from the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, one Yoga Sutra, and he says that how Patanjali is also speaking the same thing. Patanjali writes in his Yoga Sutra how you should attain Krishna. You can see that how you can attain Paramatma. Now, from now onwards, 16th and 17th shloka speaks about some recommendations in Ashtanga Yoga. Some recommendations that Krishna gives. So we see in Sanatana Dharma, we don't have, rigid rules. We have cause and effect. We don't speak about, ये करना है तो तुमको ये करना ही पड़ेगा नहीं तो ये हो जाए. No, we don't speak like that. We say, we give recommendations that if you do this, you can achieve. So for Ashtanga yogis who are very serious about practicing yoga and achieving Krishna, so Krishna is giving some recommendations in 16th and 17th. न अत्यश्नतस्तु योगोऽस्ति न चैकान्तम् अनश्नतः न चाति स्वप्नशीलस्य जाग्रतो नैव चार्जुन नाति अश्नतस्तु योगोस्ति न अति अश्नतस. न मतलब नेगेशन है, वो नहीं. अति मीन्स टू मच, है ना. अब हम बोलते हैं ना ये इसको अत्याग्रह हो गया है. अति आग्रह मीन्स टू मच ग्रीडी और टू मच डिजायर, ऐसा. अति अति मीन्स टू मच, ऐसा. न अति अश्नतस. अश्नतस टू मीन ईट फूड. अश्नतः ashnatas to yogosti. So one who is practicing yoga, he should not eat too much. That is what we say. So if you want to, attain Krishna, you should not eat too much. Na ati ashnatas. Na cha ekantam anashnatah. Okay. Ashnata means what? Ashnata to eat. Right? To eat. Eat ko ashnata bolte. Anashnata means to not eat. राइट. तो एकांतम मीन्स बहुत ज्यादा. तो न च मीन्स एंड होता है, तो ये दोनों को कनेक्ट करता है वो फर्स्ट टू लाइंस को. तो न अति अश्नतः, तो ज्यादा नहीं खाना चाहिए. वी शुड नॉट ईट टू मच, है ना. न मीन्स नो, अति मीन्स ओवरली, एंड अश्नतः मीन्स ईटिंग. एंड न च एंड ऑल्सो नॉट एकांतम, ईटिंग टू मच. Sorry, too much. Ekantam means overly. Anashnatah. Okay, ashnata in the first line means eating. So anashnata means opposite. Anashnata means not eating. So ekantam, overly not eating. That is what it means. So you should. So both lines together means na ati ashnatah, not eating too much. Nacha ekantam anashnatah, not overly not eating. So in fact the meaning is that you should not eat too much or not eat too less. That is what it means. ज्यादा खाना भी नहीं चाहिए और कम भी, बहुत ज्यादा ही कम नहीं खाना चाहिए, ऐसा. You should have a regulated diet. That is what Krishna says. So then only you can practice yoga properly. Because if you eat too much, you will sleep. बहुत ज्यादा ही concentration होके शायद समाधि में चले जाए, तो मतलब समझ रहे हो आप कि पद्मासन में बैठे थे, अचानक से शवासन में पहुंच गए, पता ही नहीं चला कैसे हो गया. ऐसा हो सकता है ना कभी. तो इसलिए ज्यादा नहीं खाने का और कम भी नहीं खाने का बहुत ज्यादा. तो कम खाओगे, कम बहुत ज्यादा ही कम खाओगे तो आपका धारणा जो है कृष्णा से निकलकर पेट के तरफ आ गया, तो भूख लग रहा है, क्रेविंग्स हो रहा है, तो मतलब आप नहीं कर सकते हो ना, आपका मन थोड़ा एजिटेटेड रहेगा. सो यू शुड नॉट ईट टू लेस. And also you should maintain your body, right? You should have a good body to practice yoga. So you should maintain your body. So if you don't eat only, then how can you maintain? That is the thing. So you have to eat regulated. Now when you are eating, it is not just about, this is the beauty of spirituality altogether. Whatever you do, it can take you towards God, unless and until you are not doing vikarma, something which you are not supposed to do. Uski baat nahi kar raha hu. Whatever in your daily life only, Krishna has arranged it in such a way that you can, remember and get to him. For example, eating. If you take eating, there is a whole lot of science how you should eat. There is an Upanishad only which speaks about, Anna Brahmam, that the food is actually Brahman. Food is actually godly. Aisa. There's a whole lot of things. Secondly, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 15th chapter, you can see Krishna says that I am Jataragni. I am only Jataragni. Jatara means your stomach, belly, and Agni means fire. I am the fire inside your stomach, which digests uh, Annam Chaturvidam. Those are four types of Anna are there that we eat. So all these four Annas are actually digested using the digestive fire, and Krishna says that I am that digestive fire, Jataragni. You see. So, if you take the words of the Upanishad is saying that Anna is Brahman. Okay. And who is actually digesting the Brahman? It is the Jatar Agni which is inside your stomach. That is Krishna himself. Which means that every morsel of food that you put inside your belly, it is like performing yajna. है ना वही है ना उसका मतलब. It is like performing yajna because Krishna is who is consuming. Even in when we were discussing on the second and third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, we discussed actually that how Krishna says that whatever yajna you perform, I am only the person who is getting the results. Okay, well, Krishna is the yajna purusha. So this is also yajna, and the fire in the yajna is actually what? It is nothing but Krishna's tongue. It is how Krishna accepts the results of the yajna. So whatever we offer. So each and every morsel of food that we are eating is nothing but it is a yajna only that is happening. The only thing that is missing is actually consciousness. And consciousness is the most important thing when we are eating. So when we have a proper consciousness, when we are having food, trust me, it takes us to God. You can test for yourself. Like, even from a material point of view, I was recently hearing somewhere that there was long back, there was one this experiment conducted somewhere in, I don't exactly remember the university or anything, but the thing was that they were feeding rabbits with high cholesterol food. High cholesterol food for rabbits, it is like as good as poison only. So for different section of rabbits they were feeding actually, and then after a point for feeding them for some days they were testing their body, and because they were consuming such bad intake of food, they were supposed to either die or be in a very miserable condition. This is actually miserable for humans too. Like, if you see, they experiment on all these small animals. I don't know why they do that, but anyways, so these rabbits were fed, but to their surprise, one section of the rabbits, they were they didn't have any impact only on their body. They didn't have any impact only because of the high cholesterol food, and they were surprised. Why? What has happened here? So they came to know that the person who was their caretaker of those rabbits, he would go to those rabbits, and first of all, he would take the rabbit, and he would just show his affection towards the rabbit. He would just rub his palms on him, and sometimes he would hug the rabbit and kiss him, and all those things he would do, and then he would feed. And because he was feeding with such affection, what happened is that the rabbit would be also feeling happiness and reciprocating, right? So because he was eating in such manner, certain chemicals were released in his body, and because of that the rabbits, they were able to counteract the poison, counteract the cholesterol with those chemical reactions. It's wonderful. So that's how it is. Like, the consciousness actually affects everything that is around us. There was an experiment of water which was done, how the molecules reacted when they were using curse words, and how the molecules react when there is a happy and pleasant environment and all those things. So the environment around us, the people around us, the food, everything depends largely on the consciousness that we are carrying throughout the day. So when we are eating, We must be happy. If you want a healthy life, you must be happy. But if you want to get to Krishna, the best thing that you can do is eat prasadam. Offer it to him first. That Krishna, it is yours, I want prasad. You eat first, then I'll eat your remaining. Right? Then you eat prasadam. Right? This is uh, the second thing. How you must eat? You must respect the food because it is prasadam. It has been honored by Krishna, so you must respect it. How would you respect? Should pray. Then, before eating, make sure that 5 parts of your body are clean. Both of your hands, your legs, below your knee, at least this much clean you should be. If you take a bath, it's wonderful, but at least this much clean you should. Five parts. Both your arms and your legs below knee, and your face and mouth must be clean before eating. You should approach prasadam with great reverence and honor. And you should be very grateful inside that Krishna, you gave me this. There are many people out there who are suffering because they don't have food. And once again, you made sure that I am not going to sleep hungry tonight. I am grateful to you. And one should be always happy. This is what Chanakya Pandit says. One should be always happy and satisfied with whatever food comes to him. Right? Whatever food that comes to him, he should be happily honoring it. He should not be complaining. He should not have ill mood when he is eating. Avoid distractions. You should not, listen to all the ditchuk dachuk and eat. No. You should not be watching movies. Nowadays, people watch movies and eat. Watch comedy videos and all those things. No, we should not do that. We should hear Krishna Katha while we are here, while we are eating, or speak Krishna Katha. But you have to make sure that you are not spitting into somebody else's. You should not make Krishna Prasadam your Mahaprasad and give them. That's what you have to. But yes, we should hear about Krishna when we are eating. Why we should hear about Krishna? Because that will enrich your consciousness, right? Your consciousness is on Krishna and you are eating, and it is going as a yajna inside. Now you imagine what effect that can give you. So that food, the food contains that consciousness, and when you are digesting, you take that healthy things out. Okay, and it nourishes your body, and the consciousness is took out, and it nourishes your soul, and whatever is left with it goes out, it pumps out whatever is not needed. So what happens is that when we are neglectfully eating, and when we are not respecting and honoring the food which is in front of us, we are not eating prasadam. What happens is that the consciousness in the food is also flushed out of our body. The body only takes whatever is necessary for our body. The consciousness is not taken out, or majority of the times you will be having ill consciousness and eating. It would just take you the other way around. So whenever we eat, we must make sure that first of all we are eating prasadam. How to make prasadam? Simple. Sattvic food: no onion garlic, no meat, not no varjit items. No onion garlic because it contains rajas and tamas. That's why we don't offer that to Krishna. The food in sattva guna, and on that we must place a tulsi leaf. Krishna accepts, when we keep tulsi on it. That's why we wear kantimala. Kantimala is tulsi. So tulsi Maharani is on us, so Krishna is always watching. Right? They are always under his surveillance, like that. So we should place a tulsi leaf, we should pray to Krishna, chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and give him some time to eat. He's a little boy, he'll eat. Then you take it, and then you start honoring prasadam. When you honor prasadam, listen to Harikatha and honor prasadam. With utmost respect, you should honor. And you should feel consciously that this is going to take me closer towards Krishna. We should make sure that we are clean, and we must approach prasadam. We should not, listen to mundane things and speak about mundane things while we are honoring prasadam. You do this for 3 days, and you may message in the group or message me personally that changes have come or not in your consciousness. You will understand how your sadhana improves and all those things. Even when Prabhupada went to the West, It's very wonderful. You can see, like, people were hippies there, right? He made hippies into happies, it is said. So how did he convert them? He just went there and started preaching about Bhagavad Gita, or what? Would they be receptive? No. They were doing all sort of, LSD and, illicit sex life, and all those things were happening. Roaming around naked, no cleanliness, nothing. How can someone propagate Vedic literature to them? No, it is not possible. He gave them prasadam first. He started giving them prasadam, and while they were eating prasadam, he would just sing Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. He would sing kirtan, they would dance. They didn't know anything about Krishna. They would just dance and they would eat. And that prasadam and that kirtan changed their lives forever. They became great devotees, went back to Godhead, many of the people. You see, prasadam has that effect. There are many things to speak on prasadam. If you take, one session only on prasadam, it would not come to an end. But I am controlling myself here and moving ahead. Okay. So yes, so one must not eat too much, or must not eat too less. So when you eat too much, you are actually eating for your sense gratification, because you are loving the taste. That's why you want to eat, right? So you are actually doing sense gratification only there. So food, we can say, like, one should not eat like Ravana. One should eat like Hanuman. It's a very big statement. What is Ravana mentality? Ravana mentality is to enjoy Sita Devi apart from Sri Ramachandra. Sita Devi belongs to Sri Ramachandra. And when you try to enjoy the Lord's resources and energy without keeping Lord in the center, that is Ravana mentality. That will get you killed one day. But what is Hanuman mentality? Hanuman mentality is to reunite Sita Devi and Sri Ramachandra. To reunite Lord's energy and engage Lord's energy in the service of the Lord. So we should honor Prasadam in Hanuman mood. How? We must first give it to Krishna. That, my dear Lord, this belongs to you. You take it first. Then honor what is remaining. So this is actually engaging Krishna's energy in Krishna's service, even though you are eating. Still, eating as a matter of duty to maintain your body so that you can serve the Supreme Lord. So you can, you know, focus on Him, not to enjoy your senses. So when you try to enjoy your senses, taking energy away from Krishna and enjoying it for yourself, it is not going to give you anything. It will just degrade you. On the other hand, if you have Hanumanji mentality, then what happens? That consciousness will take you back to Krishna. So na ati, you should not eat too much, or you should not eat too less. Okay, one should maintain his body. Nacha ati swapna shilasya means to sleep. Swapna actually means dreaming. Okay, so swapna shilasya, here Krishna is saying swapna shilasya to mention sleeping. Ati swapna shilasya, one should not sleep too much. है ना? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says जीव जागो गौर चंद्र बोले. You fool, you wake up. You jiva, you wake up. You are sleeping in the lap of Maya. Don't do that. Wake up and engage in the service of the Lord. So we should not sleep too much, because we are wasting our life when we are sleeping. Actually, we should sleep. We should not even sleep too less. Why? Because our body won't recover. Only we won't get enough rest. Then how will we perform our service? How will we, perform yoga? How will we perform meditation and spiritual practices? It is not possible, right? So we should not sleep too much, and we should not sleep too less. So these are the recommendations that Krishna gives. There is no possibility of one's becoming a yogi, O Arjuna, if one eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much or does not sleep enough. 17th verse. युक्ताहार विहारस्य युक्तचेष्टस्य कर्मसु युक्त स्वप्नावबोधस्य योगो भवति दुःखः. Okay. युक्त आहार विहारस्य, two things it is speaking about, ahara and vihara. दो चीजें. Ahara means to eat food, and vihara means recreation, right? So yukta ahara viharasya, so you should have a regulated way of eating and recreation. Yukta cheshtasya karmasu, yukta means you should have regulated, cheshtasya, cheshtasya means to work for maintaining our body and our life. Cheshtasya karmasu, karmasu means to discharge your duties. Yukta swapnavabodhasya. Swapna means to sleep and avabodhasya means to wake up. Right. So yukta swapnavabodhasya means regulated sleeping and waking up. Yogo bhavati dukkha. So such a person, what happens? Union happens. Yoga, practice of yoga. You can practice yoga well when you have yukta ahara viharasya, yukta cheshtasya karmasu, yukta swapnavabodhasya. These things, the three things, if you regulate, then you can do yoga. Yogo bhavati. Dukkha ha. Ha means मार डालना या फिर खत्म कर देना. तो दुख का ह मतलब दुख को जो खत्म कर देता है. दुख का ह मीन्स डिमिनिशिंग पेन्स. See, he who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. You see, so two recommendations Krishna gave. So yes, now from 18th verse up till 23rd verse, you will see the perfectional stage of Ashtanga Yoga. Now one may think that ठीक है, कृष्णा ने इतना सब तो बोला कि ऐसे करो, ऐसा करो, ऐसे बैठो, यहाँ पे जाओ, ये करो, वो करो. But what will you get out of it? What is the gain? How does a perfect yogi look like, or what does a perfect yogi achieve? वो भी तो पता होना चाहिए ना. So Krishna will speak about perfection in Ashtanga Yoga now, 18th and 19th verse. Okay. यदा विनियतं चित्तम् आत्मन्येवावतिष्ठते निःस्पृहः सर्वकामेभ्यो युक्त इत्युच्यते तदा. यदा, जब, when. विनियतं चित्तम. Viniyatam means disciplining, disciplined. Okay. What? Chittam. Chittam means your mind and the activities of the mind. Okay. Yada viniyatam chittam, when the mind and the activities of my mind are disciplined, are particularly disciplined. Atmanyevavatisthate. Atmani means in the soul, in the transcendence, in the super soul. Okay. Atmani eva avatisthate. Avatisthate matlab situated. So when one is, regulated, and one is, one has a disciplined his chittam, his mind, and the activities of his mind, what happens? He, his atmani eva avatisthate. He is situated in transcendence at that time. Means he is not situated in matter anymore. He has transcended the matter and he is situated in transcendence, even though he might be in the body. That's why the word chittam is very important. It is through the mind only everything is happening. Right. So yada viniyatam chittam. So when the mind is particularly disciplined, what happens? Atmani eva avatisthate. So the yogi, he is placed, he is situated in what? In transcendence. Nispriha. Spriha means desire. Nispriha means opposite. He has no desire now. He is desireless, devoid of desire. Nispriha sarva kamebhyo. Not that even one kama. Kama means what? Kama means, uh, you know, the lust. Lust is known as kama. So lust is not just about, sex pleasure. Lust is also about enjoying the material energy of the Lord, right? To enjoy independence. So nispriha sarva kamebhyo. Every kind of lust, every kind of desire for material sense gratification is finished. He is devoid of every such desire. Nispriha sarva kamebhyo. Yukta ityuchyate tada. Yukta means yoga, well situated in yoga. He is one with, transcendence, one with Krishna here. Yukta Ityuchyate tada. Iti uchyate, it is said to be. Iti uchyate tada, at that time. So yada tada. Yada matlab when, or tada matlab at that time. So when the mind and the mind's activities are particularly disciplined, the yogi is situated within transcendence, and in that stage he has no desire. He is devoid of all the desires for every kind of sense gratification. And yukta iti uchyate, and he is said to be in yukta, in yoga at that time. When the yogi, by practice of yoga, disciplines his mental activities and becomes situated in transcendence, devoid of all material desires, he is said to be well established in yoga. So, this is a definition of a yogi. If you want to understand who is a yogi, you can, just test you. Again, see, again, Prabhupada here is quoting actually, from Srimad Bhagavatam, ninth canto. You see here in the purport, ninth canto, 4th chapter, 18th to 20th verse. This is a very beautiful, verse. Before also we have discussed these verses, but I would like to recite the verse once again. So here, Prabhupada says that the activities of the yogi are distinguished from those of an ordinary person by his characteristic cessation from all kinds of material desires, of which sex is the chief. You see, sex is the chief desire. A perfect yogi is so well disciplined in the activities of the mind that he can no longer be disturbed by any kind of material desire. This perfectional stage can automatically be attained by person in Krishna consciousness, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 9.4.18 to 20. You see, Savai mana Krishna padaravindayor vachamsi vaikuntha gunanuvarnane करौ हरेर मंदिरमार्जनादिषु श्रुतिं चकाराच्युत सत्करोदय कथोदये मुकुन्दलिङ्गालय दर्शने दृशौ तद्भृत्य गात्र स्पर्शेऽङ्ग संगमम् घ्राणं च तत्पाद सरोज सौरभे श्रीमत्तुलस्या रसनां तदर्पिते पादौ हरे क्षेत्र पदानुसर्पणे क्षीरो हृषीकेशपदाभिवन्दने कामं च दास्ये न तु कामकाम्यया यथोत्तमश्लोकजनाश्रयारतिः. So here it is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, Savai mana Krishna padaravindeyo. So the mind which is engaged where? Krishna padaravindeyo, in the lotus feet of Krishna. Vachamsi Vaikuntha Gunanuvarnane. And the tongue is engaged in what? Vachamsi Vaikuntha Gunanuvarnane. About the, singing the guna of Krishna, of the glories of Krishna. Karau Harer Mandira Marjanadishu. And where are my hands engaged? In the cleaning of the temple of Krishna. Shrutim Chakarachyuta Sat Katodaye. And what are my ears hearing? Achyuta Sat Katodaye, the beautiful katha of Achyuta, of the infallible Krishna. Mukundalingalaya Darshanadrishav. And what are my eyes seeing? My eyes are seeing Mukunda, Krishna, the Muktidayaka Krishna, his beautiful linga, his beautiful form. My eyes would see. Tadbritya Gatra Sparshenga Sangamam. And what are my limbs touching? Sparsha. The Anga Sangamam of whom? Tad Bhritya, of the Bhritya of Krishna, of the dear devotees of the Lord. To touch the lotus feet of the devotees of the Lord. That's the body of the devotees of the Lord. To associate with the devotees of the Lord. Granam chatat pada saroja saurabhe. And what are my nose smelling? The aroma which is coming from pada saroja, the lotus feet of Krishna. Srimattulasya rasanam tadarpite. And what is my tongue tasting? The rasanam, the juice, the nectar, the rasa, which is coming from what? Srimat Tulasya, the Tulsi leaf, Srimati Tulsi Maharani, which is offered to the lotus feet of Krishna. Tad arpite. Padau Hare Kshetra Padanu Sarpane. And what are my legs doing? My legs are actually walking towards the Kshetra of Krishna. Shiro Hrishikesha Padhabi Vandane. And what are my head doing? My head is actually doing vandana, paying obeisances to Rishikesha, to the object of the law of the senses, the lord of the senses. Kamam cha dasye natu kamyaya yathottama shloka janashraya. And there is no desire now, you see, and his desire in executing the mission of the Lord. My desire is only to execute the mission of the Lord, to become his dasa. All these transcendental activities are quite befitting a pure devotee. This is the definition of a pure devotee. You see how the pure devotee is actually a yogi in the first place. See, yada viniyatam chittam. His chittam is always viniyatam, particularly disciplined. Why? Because he is not doing anything for himself. You saw, right? His all his senses, all his mind, his head, everything is actually in the service of the Lord. And Atmani eva avatishtate. He is always thinking about whom? He is always thinking about Krishna. So he is always in his constitutional position. You see? Nisprihaha sarva kamebhyo. He has no desire for himself. You saw, his only desire is what? Kamam cha dasye, natu kama kamyaya. There is no other desire. The only desire is to serve the Lord, serve the mission of the Lord. There is no other desire for him. Yukta iti uchyate tada. So he is yukta, right? So see how Prabhupada is connecting bhakti and Ashtanga. Next. So some beautiful purports you can see here. यथा दीपो निवातस्थो नेङ्गते सोपमा स्मृता योगिनो यत चित्तस्य युञ्जतो योगमात्मनः. Here actually Krishna is giving one analogy of how the mind of a yogi is. Okay, so yatha deepo nivatastho. Vata means air. Nivata means some place where there is no wind. That is nivata. दीप यू नो दीपावली. दीपावली मतलब क्या होता है? दीप को जला के रखते हैं इसलिए दीपावली बोलते हैं ना. तो दीप मतलब क्या होता है? दीप इज एक्चुअली यू नो अ लैम्प, है ना, लैम्प, अ लिटन लैम्प. तो यथा जिस तरीके से एज दीप अ लैम्प निवातस्थो a place is you know is lit up at a place where there is no wind. Okay, nengate sopama smrita. Nengate, na ingate. Na means negation and ingate means waver. Like in a place where there is wind, you can see that the lamp will waver, right? The fire will waver. But a place where there is no wind only, it is na ingate. It would not waver. Na ingate sopama smrita. Sopama. So this comparison he is making, smrita is considered. Yogino yata chittasya. So a person who is a yogi, of the yogi, yata chittasya, whose mind is what? Whose mind is controlled. Yata chittasya. So yogino yata chittasya, for that yogi whose mind is controlled, yunjato yogamatmanaha. Constantly engaged yogam in meditation, atmanaha, on transcendence. He is always meditating on the supreme soul, on the super soul, on yogam atmanaha. So a person who is a yogi, who is always engaged in meditation on the supreme, on the transcendence, his mind is just like a lamp which is lit up at a place where there is no wind blowing. So his mind would not waver. His mind is steady. That is what it is said. As a lamp in a windless place does not waver, so the transcendentalist whose mind is controlled remains always steady in his meditation on the transcendent self. We all have this problem of concentration, right? We all have this problem of focusing our mind. So this is the, once you come to the level of, once you regulate your mind, make it steady, so this is what you get ultimate concentration. Your mind won't waver. This is at one point. A truly Krishna conscious person, always absorbed in transcendence, in constant undisturbed meditation on his worshipable Lord, is as steady as a lamp in a windless place. That's what Prabhupada says here. A one line purport, very powerful. Okay, so in 16th and 17th verse we saw some recommendations, and 18 to 23 we saw, we said that it is about perfectional stage of Ashtanga yoga. from which 18 and 19 are over. In 18th and 19th shloka, we saw that first of all he was telling about how a disciplined mind. He was speaking about a disciplined mind, then devoid of nispriha sarva kamebhyo and all those things we saw. And then Krishna gave an analogy of like how the mind of a yogi is steady. That we saw. 18th and 19th verse. 18th and 19th verse were speaking about the perfection in Ashtanga Yoga. Now, from 20th verse to 23rd verse, we will see the realizations in perfection in Samadhi. So, the perfection of a yogi is Samadhi, right? The eight limbs of yoga. So, from in the eighth limb, there is Samadhi. So, Samadhi is the perfectional stage. So, we will see from the 18th verse to the 23rd verse that what is the realization in the perfectional stage, what is the realization in the Samadhi stage of Ashtanga Yoga. We will see that. Okay. यत्रो परमते चित्तं निरुद्धं योगसेवया यतच्चैवात्मनात्मानं पश्यन् आत्मनि तुष्यति सुखम् आत्यन्तिकं यत्तत् बुद्धिग्राह्यम् अतीन्द्रियं वेति यत्र न चैवायं स्थितश्चलति तत्त्वतः यं लब्ध्वा चापरं लाभं मन्यते नाधिकं ततः यस्मिन् स्थितो न दुःखेन गुरुणापि विचाल्यते तं विद्यात् दुःख संयोग वियोगं योग संयुतम. So here Krishna is speaking about what in samadhi, how does it feel like to be in a samadhi. That is what Krishna is saying. See, in the stage of perfection called transcendence or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. So much matlab सीधा three verses, so 20, 21, 22 and 23, four verses straight. This is, so we'll go one by one. See, yatro paramate chittam niruddham yoga sevaya. So the consciousness completely restrained from material mental activities. Okay, you see, yatra uparamate chittam. Uparamate means to not have, like to cease from. That is what uparamate means. Yatra uparamate chittam. Chittam means mind. From what? Niruddham. Niruddham yoga sevaya. Niruddham means being restrained from matter. Right. So you take your mind out of matter and fix it on transcendence. So that is what it means. Yatra uparamate chittam. So the important thing here is, see, in the stage of perfection called trance or samadhi, so Prabhupada here says that one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities. This is what we read in the first line. By practice of yoga. See, this perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by what? By pure mind. It's very important. Some people, I have heard this a long back. There is a certain section of the philosophy or a certain section of people who say that you have to just shut down the mind. Why? Because mind is the problem, na? Mind only wants you to do sense, uh, to engage in sense activities and sense pleasure. Mind is only keeping you agitated. So mind is the problem. So what do? You just shut off the mind. No need of mind. But here Krishna is very particular. He is saying. You see, he is saying that you have to see the self by the pure mind. This is very important. You cannot see, how will you realize? You will realize when you purify your mind. Just getting rid of the mind or shutting down the mind, or that is not the solution. You have to purify your mind. And after purifying your mind, with the same mind you will realize, with the same mind you can see. It's very important. Sometimes we just want to get rid of the mind. We want to just, the mind approximately throws in some, I don't know the exact number, 16,000 thoughts or something in a day. So we just don't want that to happen. We see sometimes, thoughtlessness happens, no. So we feel very peaceful. Oh, thoughts नहीं आता तो कितना peaceful होता, mind को ही shut down कर दो, नहीं ऐसा नहीं होता. You have to purify the mind. How do you purify the mind? The process was given behind, regulating, you know regulative principles. That is how you purify the mind. You engage it in Krishna. You purify the mind, and with that same mind which is purified, it becomes your best friend. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, right? We have seen, right, that the mind can be the best friend also. So that's how the mind becomes best friend. It is not just getting rid of the mind. No, you have to change your mind. You have to purify your mind. And with the purified mind, what do? You approach Krishna. So that is the idea. So see here. So you have to see the self by the purified mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. So relish and rejoice in the self का मतलब क्या होता है? Relish and rejoice in the self does not mean relish and rejoice within your, this bodily concept. No, it is not something which is artificial. It is that when you are in samadhi, you realize your constitutional position. You realize what you are. You realize and identify yourself with matter. And now what is happening? We are in the bodily conception of life. But when you transcend this body and you understand, oh yes, I'm actually belonging to that transcendental plane. When you realize that you are not this body but this soul. But now we know theoretically. When you realize that you are not the body, you are the soul. And when you look at the Paramatma within you, who is your true friend, who is Satchidananda Vigraha, what happens? You start relishing and rejoicing in the self. We have seen in the previous chapters, param drishtva nivartate. When you get the higher taste, you will lose interest for the lower one. So when you see yourself, when you understand, when you realize that you are transcendental to this material nature, you won't enjoy in this material world. You see the swans and the crows, they don't take pleasure at the same place. The crows are inclined to go the you know into the garbage and relish. At the same time, the swan, they enjoy in fresh lake. Similarly, a self-realized soul takes pleasure in the self, takes pleasure in the transcendence, takes pleasure in the realization of Paramatma. And a person takes pleasure in the a self-realized soul, he takes pleasure in serving the Supreme Lord. That's where his happiness lies. He does not relish in the garbage of this material existence. No. But at the same time, a person who is not self realized, who is foolish, who is not inclined towards spiritual life, what does he do? He relishes in this material world which is full of miseries and tries to extract happiness from a place where there is no real happiness or some jadananda here or there. And in that joyous state, okay, in that joyous state, that is samadhi, where he is relishing within himself, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness. We want this, right? We want transcendental happiness. We want boundless happiness. Is there any boundless happiness here? We are bound by miseries only here. So, but in that state, what happens? One is bound. Sorry, one is, uh, situated in boundless transcendental happiness, in ananda, realized through transcendental senses, because that's what we are. We belong there. We we have somehow or the other fell here. We have to get out. So when we realize our constitutional position, that's when we, get the real ananda, the boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. So this is very important. Not realized through this sense, the transcendental senses. Transcendental senses is with the soul, right? So you realize that transcendental happiness with transcendental senses. Don't think that you will become some formless form of light or some, no. You will get transcendental senses to enjoy that transcendental happiness. That is what it is. Established thus, one never departs from the truth. So this is the truth, right? This is our constitutional position. And once we are fixed up there, once we are established there, we will never depart from that truth. And upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. But that's what I was saying. The crows and the swans, they don't take pleasure in the same things. So once you are self-realized, you have become like a swan. You cannot enjoy in this material world. You have no greater happiness in this material world. There is no happiness in this material world than from you. You will not seek for Jadananda there. This is the reason why the yogis, they can just go into the upper side of Himalayas above the glaciers of Ganga and all, and without any clothes they are sitting there in happiness. People say that you are foolish, you are leaving away everything and going, but you are not understanding. This is what he is relishing there. That is why he is sitting there, right? This is what he is relishing: boundless transcendental happiness. You see, in this world, people feel it so strange and mad, and people think that all these monks, they are brainwashed. you know People think that way, that these monks, they are brainwashed and they are taken in their youth. No, you see all these IITians and all great big scholars and scientists, they are becoming brahmacharis, they are becoming monks. Why? Because there is boundless happiness there. We cannot see that. The common men, they cannot see that happiness. So they are actually crows, the common men who think this way. So they are crows and they feel that, oh my god, this guy, he has become a swan. What is the fun of becoming a swan? What fun is there in becoming a swan? You should come and enjoy in this garbage. It is so fun here. This is how they feel. But they don't take any pleasure in all those things. Why? Because established thus, one never departs from the truth. And upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. So if there is no greater gain, why would he go? Right? That is what it is. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. So this is what it is. So here we can actually understand that why people have this tendency to choose uh, a life of a renunciant, a life of a brahmachari, and all. Why? Because they are relishing this. What boundless happiness Krishna is speaking about, that they are relishing, and they can they cannot depart from the truth and come back to this place. That is what the idea is. And the best part is, we need not, even if we are in family life, even if we are working, and even if we have a family to maintain and a body to maintain, still it is not a problem. We can become a yogi here itself. Just chant the holy names of Krishna. Just engage yourself in devotional service, and you will get all the perfection that is there. It's a very great subject to speak of, but let's move a bit forward. It's a very big purport. You can read. It's a very beautiful purport actually. Prabhupada quotes from very various places, and you know, he says that. The 24th verse onwards. Yeah. So the from 24th to 32nd verse, if we see, it speaks about attaining perfection in Ashtanga Yoga. That is realizing the super soul. That is what Krishna speaks here. Okay. So I feel that we can continue from tomorrow onwards, from this point on, since uh, you know, or should we continue? What do you think? Should we continue, or can we, or should we take from tomorrow?
We can take it from tomorrow.
We can take it from tomorrow. Yeah, fine. Because already it's 12:30, so it would be better if we take it tomorrow only. Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for hearing attentively and giving me an opportunity to serve. Haribol. If you have any doubts, please unmute yourself and ask.
No doubts, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Can I end the meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much.